Hello, fellow aviators. So, for our lesson tonight, we will be tracking inbound and outbound um, bearings using our ADF. And for tracking inbound, you want to make sure you get your B and C. We will be doing position, B and C, and final heading. Now, your DME will be given, let's say, this is inbound, so it doesn't really matter, around. Yeah. So your DME, we will not be using our DME when we're tracking inbound. We're only going to use DME when we're tracking outbound. So for your position, just take a look at your tail. Take a look at your tail and look at where you are. Your position right now is 200 degrees. Next, you need to grab your bearing. So here's the tricky part. When you grab your bearing, say 240, right? You have to get the reciprocal. So find 240 and get its reciprocal, which is 060. So that's what our inbound bearing is. So inbound bearing 240, which is 060. So that's our tracking inbound bearing. Now next, your needle, you need to take a look at where your needle is. So basically it's your position but the reciprocal. So our position is 200 and our needle is at 020 degrees. After that, we get our correction. So for our correction, this is how you take your correction. We don't use the DME. We need to find the difference between the, so we'll be using 30, 60, 90. We cannot use uh angles that are lower than the difference between the bearing and the needle. So our options are 30, 60, 90. We will be using 60 degrees because it's more than 40. So our correction is 60 degrees. So 060 bearing. And so this is how you get it. You need to figure out where and which direction your needle is from your bearing. So bearing, needle, and then you correct it. So bearing, needle, correction, bearing, needle, correction, and then you go 60 degrees to the counterclockwise. 30, 60. So your intercept heading will be 360. So for your final heading, of course, will be the reciprocal of your bearing, which is 060 degrees. Now this is your answer. This is what will be needed for your ADF. Okay, so here's a quick tip for your intercept and track outbound bearing. So first, diba, kunin natin yung TBC, tail bearing correction. Para madali lang, tingnan niyo yung tail. Tail, tas yung bearing is 330, tas correction, tas DME mo, let's say, is 11. So, that's 60 degrees, 30, 60. Ganun lang siya kadali. So, tail is 050, bearing is 330, outbound bearing and outbound bearing. Tapos, correction is 60 degrees. So, 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 30, 60, 270 siya. 270 yung correction, yung intercept heading natin. Tapos yung final heading, of course, is our outbound bearing, which is 330 degrees. So, yan lang talaga. Kung, anong Tagalog man ko? This is as simple as it can get for outbound bearing. Outbound is one of the easier ones to do when you're trying to intercept and track. Okay, if that was too fast, we can go ahead and proceed to this other example. I have another example for you guys. Intercept and track outbound bearing 270. Okay, so let's start again with position. Take a look at the tail. That's 050 degrees. Now your TBC, of course, and then your final heading, and then your DME. Let's say your DME is 9. So your tail, this is your tail, and then your bearing is 270. Your bearing is all the way over there. Here, and then your bearing is over here. That's really far. Now, your correction with your DME is 45 degrees. So tail, bearing, correction, stop at your bearing, and then correct it with your your intercept angle. So first, let's take our tail. This is 050 degrees. And then your bearing, since we're outbound, we don't need to get the reciprocal. We just do outbound bearing 270 degrees. Yes. Next is your correction. We take a look at our DME. Your DME, since it's 9, USDME 45 degrees. Now, usually, when you're actually flying, when you're doing the flight sim 2, you usually only use 30, 60, 90. But since we do this for the exam, we'll use 45 degrees. Now, outbound bearing 270, 270. So for your corrections, since it's 90 ME, we'll be using 45 degrees. Correction 270. This is your bearing, right? Uh, tail, bearing, correction, stop at bearing, and then count 45 degrees. Since this is 30, 30, and then 45 is over here. So your intercept angle is 45, and your intercept heading is 225. 45 degrees and 225 degrees. Okay, so outbound bearing 270, your final heading is 270 degrees. So there you have it. This is your intercept and track outbound bearing 270.